The Studio ADHD Centre in Capel has been providing support to parents and carers of young people with ADHD and Asperger's for the past 12 years.
But that could all change because it needs to find £50,000 and quickly, otherwise its doors will close. Well, Barbara follows, is a trustee at the charity and joins us now. So Barbara, tell us exactly what the studio does, first of all.
Morning, James and Suzanne. Thank you for inviting me. As you said, I'm a trustee for the Studio ADHD Centre in Capel. We are a registered charity, and as you said, we can only survive for about 2 more months unless we have £50,000 new funding. We work with schools, health, social services to support children with ADHD, and quite often they have other difficulties like autism and dyslexia.
When you say support, how does that manifest itself?
We work with, as I said, with the schools. We fill a specialist gap in provision of special needs support. We offer preventative work. That's what we really would like to concentrate on, although sometimes it does turn out to be crisis management. If we have to fold, there will be nowhere that families can go for such specialist help in Surrey. And therefore, unfortunately, there'd be more exclusions from school, there'd be family breakups, and children just not achieving their potential.
Now, I'm very lucky. None of my children have ADHD, but what stresses does that put on a family?
We have hundreds of testimonials, which I wish I could read out to you, and parents who we did invite onto the programme, but 7 o'clock in the morning with children in the family with ADHD, it's a pretty difficult time. But if I can just say to you, last year we worked with around 100 children, and as I said, if we close, this gap won't be there. If you live with a child with ADHD, you dread the phone ringing because it could be the school again. You're walking on eggshells because a change in routine can precipitate a meltdown. You're permanently worn out because you have hardly any sleep, because children with ADHD often have poor sleep patterns. You're full of guilt because you think, was it me? Did I do something? You have arguments between you and your husband or with the rest of the family, and you're really overridingly sad because your child finds it difficult to make friends, and this can lead to depression and mental health issues.
As a trustee, how are you feeling about this?
I'm feeling desperate, to be quite honest, and I'm feeling, as I just said as a parent night, extremely sad. We have such a good blueprint at the studio, a therapeutic, holistic approach to preventative work, and we need this £50,000 to keep on going and to extend. We work with children in Surrey and Sussex. There's no reason why this blueprint couldn't go nationwide. We really, really want corporate sponsors to be listening to us today, and please help us out with this 50,000. And also, on our website, www.studioadhdcentre.org.uk, there's a donate button on there. Anything that your public who's listening today could help us with would be greatly appreciated. We can't let this resource just go.
Barbara, are you entirely self-funded? Do you not get any help at all from the government or the local authority?
We used to get quite a bit of help from Surrey, but things have changed greatly. The commissioning process, I should say, that Surrey offers now is very restrictive for us. It's complex and it's time-consuming because we're such a small charity. At the moment, we're running with one full-time member of staff who works more than full-time and one part-time. And these processes, commissioning processes, take a long, long time. Trusts and funders independently do not really like subsidising what should be state-funded. An example of that is the respite weekend that we run. And we had to go outside of Surrey to find somebody who would fund that. And it happened to be Awards for All, which is part of the big lottery. But we'll have that fight again if we're lucky enough to survive into next year. And that short break for mothers of children with ADHD was not funded by Surrey because they said that they thought it would not benefit the children. But can I just read you something from a mother from that weekend?
Yeah, go for it.
When I was first sent the information about the Mother's Respite Weekend, I was so touched that someone had actually thought about the impact on us as mums and carers of our wonderful but challenging children. So often we spend our lives on the defensive and feeling judged and doubting ourselves. I think that just about puts it into a nutshell.
It does indeed. Barbara, thank you ever so much for speaking to us this morning. Barbara Follows, trustee of the Studio charity. Well, we spoke to Surrey and Borders Partnership NHS Trust. They told us the closure of the Dorking Centre was part of a wider restructuring and that staff have been deployed to other centres in the area.
This after a charity in Dorking, the Studio, saying that they need funding or they're going to close by Christmas. Well, Tina's on the line. Hello, Tina.
Good morning.
I'm saying your son's got ADHD.
He has, yeah. I have a son, Billy, who's 9.
But how old was he when he was diagnosed?
7.
And what's he like? Because it's a phrase that many of us hear, but we don't really understand.
No. And it's difficult as a parent to begin to understand because it's very difficult being a hidden disability, that your child looks kind of normal, as it were. But underneath, there's so much that goes on underneath, and there's the hyperactivity and the compulsivity of a child, which affects their self-esteem hugely. My son in particular, he'll go to do something that's helpful, but then he'll just kind of go over and above, and he'll do the wrong thing and then end up being told off. And for him, it's like that all the time, really. And that's kind of one part of it. And then he has the struggle with attention, which affects his schoolwork, his friendships. He finds it really hard to keep up with the work at school. He struggles with relationships with friends, and then the impact that it has on home life because of how he feels and how he's upset.
Well, what's it like for you, Tim?
As a parent, it's hard because I know Barbara mentioned before about the lack of sleep, which for a new parent who has a baby who has a lack of sleep that goes on, that's a struggle with how you deal with day-to-day life, and that on top of having a child who struggles with routine and self-esteem and managing their emotions makes it really hard as a parent because Billy's always struggled with sleep, and we've taken him to sleep clinic. Before we knew he had ADHD, we took him to sleep clinics and tried everything. And he's now medicated to help him sleep. But that only works for so many hours. Sometimes he can have a good night, and sometimes not. So again, that then impacts on him going into school the next day because he's tired, and it just is never ending, really.
So, Tina, have you used any of the facilities at the Studio Centre in Capel or a support group like that? I mean, how vital is something like that for someone like you?
It's so vital. Yes, we have. We've met with Nancy Williams, who runs the Studio ADHD Centre. It's the only service that is available. Really, if you go to your doctor or you go to CAMS, the Child and Mental Health Service, you're given medication for your child if you choose to medicate to help them with attention, but there's nothing, absolutely nothing out there that can help a parent or a child to understand what ADHD is about, but also to help the children. And the Studio, when we met with Nancy explained to Billy all about ADHD and how it's not his fault and how it is with his brain. And
how's it changed him since going to somewhere like that then?
He understands that there's other people like him. They offer trips, they do fishing and other kind of activities that help the children to raise their self-esteem. When on a day-to-day basis they're being told off constantly, whether it's at school, with their friends, in life, and they feel kind of less than often. They receive, praise and reward.
A little bit of love, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Tina, thank you for telling us more. Thank you. We're going to talk more about this after 8 o'clock this morning here on BBC Surrey. And if it's something that you have to live with, ADHD, whether it's a member of the family or a relation, interested to hear from you. Do get in touch.